Hey Bubble folks, what's up? This is Damien from BubbleX.io, and welcome to the fourth and last part of my video series on building for mobile on Bubble's new responsive engine. In the last two videos, we have looked into building a really cool and simple landing page for our app, and we've looked into adding a slide up menu for our sign up and login function. And in today's video, we're going to build a very simple but really cool home screen for our app. We have some kind of user image. We have an icon, some text, a repeating group with content, and a floating group for our navigation at the bottom. Let's dive right into it. I'm going to go to my editor. Here's what we have so far. We have our page. It's set up as an align to parent. Then so far we had our group landing page, which was aligned to the top middle. And in here we had our content. Before we start, it's important to make sure that you check this element collapses when hidden. This way we make sure it doesn't interfere with our home group. It's important we build for mobile always collapse things if they're not visible. Okay, let's hide this for a second. Let's start. The first thing we want to add is an empty group. Just gonna add this to the page here. Cool, I align this top center. I want this to be structured as a column. I'm gonna give it a width of 100% of its parent, which is currently the page, and also on the height, I want to have a fixed height of 100% of the parent. Let's check the appearance. Cool, that's currently a flat color background. That's good. Let's call it group home. And also here, before we do anything, make sure this collapses when hidden. And then let's start adding our elements. The first thing I want to add is this floating group for the navigation. Just gonna go ahead, select the floating group from the menu, put it on my page. I'll call this floating group navbar. I want this to be a row, and I want it to have a fixed width, again, of 100% of the parent. I want to give it a fixed height of, let's say, 50 pixels. And important, I want this to be vertically floating relative to the button. Okay, now it's down here, that's good. Let's also apply some nice style here. Then let's add some icons. Just gonna go ahead and put an icon in here. Let's give this some nice color. And on the layout, I want this to be, let's say 30 by 30 pixels. Okay, that's fine. I'm just gonna copy and paste this in here 3 more times. Okay, now we have 4 icons. Let's select our floating group. The first thing we want to make sure is that these icons are distributed nicely across our floating group. There's an option in container alignment called space around. That looks just fine. I'm just gonna actually vertically align these to the center. Okay, that's fine. Let's leave this for now. Let's go back and see what we need to add. Okay, I want to have a picture and an icon next. I'm just gonna go ahead and select an image from here, put it on the page. I want this at a fixed width of, let's say, 40 pixels. I want to keep the element aspect ratio fixed to 1:1. That's good. Okay, let's go back to appearance real quick. I want this to be round, so I'm just going to give it a high value there. And for now, I'm just going to give it a static image. Cool. Next thing, I want to have an icon. Just going to drop this on the page here. Going to give this a width of 30 and a height 30 pixels. Let's quickly change the color and the icon. Okay, cool. Now I want these two elements to be in a row together. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this. Just select the two, gonna arrange group elements in a row container. Okay, the row itself, I want to give the fixed width of 90% of our screen. We don't need the minimum right for now. Let's just get rid of this. And the row, I want to have a space in between, so this aligns nicely to left and right. Let's also align this to the vertical centers. Cool. Let's also align our row to the center of the page. Cool, now it's here, that's great. Let's give this some 20 pixels margin from the top. Okay, good, that looks good. Okay, next thing, we need some text. Just gonna go ahead and add some text here. Okay, the layout. I want this to be centered. Again, I want this to be 90% of my parent group. I don't need a minimum height. That's fine. Let's give this some 40 pixels margins from the top. Font appearance. Let's give it some style. Okay, that looks fine. And next, let's add a repeating group. And I'm going to show you two versions how we can make a scrolling page. One is with a repeating group. The other one is by just adding elements. Let's go with the repeating group first. So I'm going to select a repeating group here, put it on the page. Cool. I created some dummy data type called entry. I'm just going to use this for the demo purposes. Okay. Go for entry. Data source is just a search. Cool. So set fixed number of rows. I don't want this. The minimum height of a row. Let's go for 60 pixels for now. Columns, fixed number, yes. Separator, I don't need one. Let's quickly go to layout options. I want this again to have a fixed width of 100% of the parent. And I don't want to have the minimum height at all, but I want to have some margin on the top. Again, let's go with 40 pixels. Okay, that's good. Let's just add some text to this. This could be the current sales entry, entry name. By the way, before we do anything, let's also structure our cell. Currently that's fixed. I want this to be a row. Okay, text vertical centers. Width, I'm just gonna go with some arbitrary number here for now. Let's go with 150 pixels. I can change this later. And I don't want to have any minimum height. Let's also add some icon here. And actually, we want to make this first. Let's give this some margin on the left. Okay, the next thing I want to do is I want to group this icon. Just gonna group this in a row for now. Okay, I want to give this a fixed width of, let's say, 40, let's say 50 pixels. I want to give this a fixed height of 100%. Let's also give this a background and also quickly adjust the radius here. So top left, I want to have 30, top right, I want to have 50, bottom left, I want to have 30. Okay, that looks good. Let's go back to our width. Let's make this 40 for now. Okay, this is our icon. Let's go back. Let's make this 20. Let's give this some margin on the left. I'm just gonna go with 8. And then let's also make it white. Cool. That's our cell. Let's also group these two elements together again in a row. And let's give this row some styling. And the row itself, I want to give this a 100%. Minimum height is fine. Okay. So now that I've done that, I can get rid of the fixed width here. If I don't need, but I definitely want to have some margin on the right. Okay, let's also change the text style real quick. Okay, cool. One last thing. Our group, I want to change this to, again, 90%. And I want to align the contents in my row, that is the repeating group, to the center. Okay, so that's all nice. Let's see how this looks for now. Okay. Now we see that's all pretty much stuck together. Let's quickly fix this by just going back to our group. Let's giving this some margin, let's say 20 pixels. Go and preview this again. Okay, that's better. I still don't like how it looks. Let's give this a minimum height. Let's say 80. Adjust the radius here slightly. Okay, let's try again. Okay, so far so good. The issue now is if we scroll down, we won't see the last entry. That's because it's hidden behind our floating group. Easy way to fix this is to just add an empty group at the bottom of our page. I'm just gonna grab a group here, put it on the page. On appearance, I don't want this to have any colors. Let's just structure this as a row real quick. 100% for width. give this a fixed height of 50, which is the same as our floating group. Okay, let's preview this. Okay, cool. We see we have a landing page. It looks okay. We can scroll down. We see all the entries. That's fine. Let's go back to our page. And again, since we're here, always make sure that collapse when hidden is true, because otherwise the increased length of the page will also increase the full page size when this group is hidden. And for example, the landing will be visible. You don't want that. Okay, this is how you can do it with a repeating group. Let's just quickly look into how we could build a landing page without a repeating group. So I'm just gonna copy this group, get rid of our repeating group for now, and just paste this here. Okay, let's quickly align this to the center. Also make it last. And then make it one previous, so it's above our spacer group that we added earlier. Okay, I just need to quickly get rid of my errors that I have from copy pasting because it's not in a repeating group anymore. I'm just gonna add some random text here. Okay, cool, that should be fine. I'm just gonna copy and paste this here. I'll do this a couple of times. Okay, let's preview this. Okay, that's cool. Our page now loads nicely. I can scroll up and down here. Let's also increase the size of our spacer group at the bottom slightly, so we have more space at the bottom between our floating group and our last element. Let's make this 70. Preview this one last time. Okay, works like a charm. One last thing. Our floating group that we added is currently always visible, so it would also be visible when the landing page is visible. We don't want that. So let's go to our floating group, make sure this isn't visible on page load, but add a condition. When our group is visible, I want this to be visible as well. Yes. Let's quickly add some intelligence. I also want my group home not visible on page loads. It's loading. I want to have my group landing page that's visible on page load. Let's just real quick say if I would go and click on demo here, we could do something like saying I want to hide an element, which is our group landing page. And I want to show an element, which is home. Could also use some nicer animations for this, but for the demo, I'm just gonna go with that. Okay, let's preview this one last time. Okay, that's our landing page. If I go to demo, this brings me to our home screen. I have everything that we added here. I see my floating group. And the whole thing seems to be working just fine. Okay, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you like my content, feel free to subscribe at newsletter.bubblehacks.io, and I'm looking forward to seeing you soon. Goodbye.